Welcome to the Not So Kind Regards podcast. I'm Maddie Birdcage.
And I'm Caroline Moss.
We are done with the digital fluff and pleasantries.
And we're here to talk straight about brand building, digital marketing, and personal growth.
This episode is, of course, brought to you by Birdcage Marketing, the forward-thinking business growth and digital marketing brand that started this all. If you are a small, medium, or large-size business, don't know how to get started, or need to tighten up your digital marketing efforts, we are currently taking on new strategy and virtual marketing manager clients. Let us shape your strategy, give you the action steps you need to implement, and then hold your hand as you and or your team implement the exact process that will take you from where you are now to where you want to be. To get started, book your discovery call at birdcagemarketing.com.au, and let's do this. Now, back to the episode.
Hey, Maddie.
Hey, Caroline.
Today it is you and me, and we are talking about our Ladder of Transformation, a tool in the Birdcage Marketing School and in our Birdcage Marketing strategies that all of our clients get the benefit of.
Yes, I love the Ladder of Transformation.
It is very cool. It feels a little intimidating at first to a lot of people, but it makes things a lot simpler once you get your head around it.
I think a lot of people are aware of the fact you need to talk not just about the features of what you do, but also the benefits of what you do, and ultimately what the transformation is that you deliver to your customers. Anyone who's been around marketing for a while knows that that's what you need to be talking about. But then I always had the question of, yeah, but what is the actual transformation? Is it the thing that I'm doing? Is it how I make them feel? Or is it something else entirely? What we essentially discovered was that every brand solves three problems for their customers. And it's exactly what I just mentioned. Well, a functional transformation, an emotional one, and an identity-based one.
For me, the light bulb went off with this framework when you introduced it that answered the question around sell the lifestyle, not the product. And this is what I think really paints that picture for people.
Yeah. And this is this problem that I have with a lot of online marketing advice. It feels like it's marketing in and of itself. Right? Like there's all these phrases getting around, sell the lifestyle, not the product. What does that mean? Do storytelling content. What does that mean? What do any of these things mean? And I think this is what all of our tools, our frameworks, all of these marketing psychology based tools that we have created, it answers those questions. Everything that we use is either based on a solution that we created for ourselves, or it's based on a psychological framework or psychological phenomenon, or it's built on some other business model, for example. And so what the Ladder of Transformation is actually based on, it's based on this concept called jobs to be done model, which has wider business applications. But when we've taken it purely for the purposes of what we're trying to do, which is simplify a marketing strategy and have more of a step-by-step process with which to create marketing strategies, we are focusing purely on the transformation that we're delivering for clients and for customers. And so what the Ladder of Transformation is meant to do, it's meant to help not just us as we write strategies, but fellow business owners, fellow marketers, fellow leaders, to be able to articulate, okay, what am I actually meant to be showing in my marketing in order to entice people and get them wanting what it is that I've got to sell?
What stands out to me is that people use these marketing terminologies. They tell you what you need to be doing. They might even give you an example, but they don't tell you how to get there for your own brand.
Yeah.
And the Ladder of Transformation literally walks you through how to get there.
Yeah. And I mean, this came as a result because we were working on these strategies and we were doing this intuitively. And then we'd present it to our clients, and our clients, when they wanted to know, okay, so how did you arrive there? We were kind of like, we thought it. Which doesn't give us a huge bucket load of credibility, really. Like, I do believe marketing is both a science and an art, and we are intuitively very good at what we do. But it was really important for me that we were able to articulate how did we actually get to this end result so that our clients had more trust in what we were recommending to them. And so the way that the Ladder of Transformation works, it's a ladder. So you can't climb on the next rung of the ladder without climbing on the one below it. So you have to like step it up, right? It's just like, I could have called it a pyramid of transformation, I suppose, but also that kind of messes with the funnel thing. So let's stick with the latter. At the very bottom, every brand delivers a functional transformation. And a functional transformation is simply, what are you actually doing? For us as a marketing agency, we are giving marketing services, strategy. We are giving strategy advice. For us as a school, we are teaching marketing frameworks. If you sell clothes, you are selling women's summer dresses. Or if you're a beauty brand, you are selling mascara. Whatever it is, that is the thing that you do. You should not be challenged with answering this question of what your function is.
And then the transformation that comes from that, if you sell mascara, it's to make eyelashes bigger or,
yes,
more beautiful or longer.
Correct. That's right. So then you need to look at the next level up, which is, okay, so what is the emotion that is felt during the service or the product or immediately after? So looking at the transformation. For us as Birdcage overall, I believe that our transformation we deliver is clarity and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see something else?
What came to me is like, if we just spoke to those two things, we'd be doing ourselves a disservice because sometimes you have to figure out what your audience actually cares about, but you still need to map all three of these transformations. But sometimes they care more about one transformation or another transformation. What I think our audience cares about probably is the identity transformation, which you're about to explain.
Yeah. And really, this is the gold mine here, the identity stuff. If you can figure out this identity transformation and you can demonstrate that and you can show up as that, that's the winner.
Can you tell people how you got to this identity transformation through, we used to have our self-concept and
Yes, that's right. The identity-based transformation is actually, again, grounded in another psychological principle, which is this idea of the self-concept, where it's a principle that dictates there are multiple versions of ourselves with how we see ourselves or how we want to be perceived. But what I specifically want to look at is the ideal self-concept. So it's the self that we are trying to become.
Because people pay money to get there.
Yes, they are. Because it's like we want to be that person. It's how we want to perceive ourselves, but it's also then a mixture of how we want others to perceive us as well. So it's basically, in simple terms, the identity transformation is simply, who is it that we are trying to be? Some of us are more self-aware of ourselves than others, and that needs to be acknowledged. For example, someone who is very self-aware of themselves and is actively working hard in trying to be a better version of themselves, they may currently be someone who's like a high volume plastic consumer, for example, but they actively want to change themselves into being like this sustainability eco-warrior type person, right? So that's someone having a really large self-concept shift. But even people who are not as self-aware, who maybe are kind of living life on default, they still have an ideal self of how they want to be perceived. And generally, that has been written by their primary caregivers from when they were children. So when they were in their most sponge-like state, their brains were in their most sponge-like state. It's basically like, let's just say someone grew up with not a whole lot of money in the family, and there was this narrative going on that rich people are bad and greedy. Now, that means that this person who maybe hasn't done a lot of self-development work and is kind of living on default mode, they never want to be seen as greedy and bad people. And so their self-concept is going to be like, I don't want to be seen as like richer than or more, have more money than anyone else around me. And so they're going to be doing things in their life, like not necessarily strive to have, go out and have a high-powered, high-paying job necessarily, because they actually don't want to be ostracized from their community by being seen as a rich person. They would prefer to just kind of be middle class, like stay where they are. That means they're not going to wear fancy labeled clothes. They're not going to drive a fancy car. They're not going to do or own or buy or be anything that signals wealth, because their ideal self is not a wealthy person, because they think wealthy people are bad. Did I explain that in a way that can make sense? Do you want to break it down for the listeners?
I think for that specific example, their ideal self, it could be anything, but it could be someone who like seems grounded or seems like they're striving to be like the everyman, like to be super relatable. And they might, this could be negative, but they might be like trying to dim their light or just trying to relate to everybody or a people pleaser or things like that. So once you identify that, I guess from a brand's perspective, you want to be going for people who are striving.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, you don't necessarily want to be going for people who are striving, because let's just say your brand archetype is the everyman and you are selling like $20 t-shirts and you want to appeal to the people that don't want to be showy, flashy, like have anything like that. Your messaging very well will be around
like the shirt that sticks with you and it's like sturdy and stable and grounded and you can wear every day and you're not flashy.
And it's almost like I can almost imagine really quite irreverent marketing around the shirt. Like it's just a t-shirt, you know, rather than if you want to have like a, you know, $120 special white shirt that's like semi-designer, it's like that's going to have very different messaging about how special it is.
I could see the marketing being like a split screen, even like an ad. And it's like kind of making fun of people who spend that much money on t-shirts.
Yeah. Cause you don't want to be seen as that, like that dumb rich person who's conned into spending all that money. You're like this working class,
like money savvy,
like you can't be conned, like you're smarter than the rest type thing. I guess this is us trying to really articulate and show the self-concept is not just for the people that are self-aware and doing the self-development work. Everybody has an ideal self-concept, whether we know it or we don't, and that is driven by our subconscious. Again, back to the subconscious. I might as well get it tattooed on my face.
Please don't do that.
Subconscious rules your life.
Might be better for the wrist or something.
So at the top of the ladder of transformation, you need to articulate what is the identity transformation that people are trying to achieve by working with you. So for example, our identity that we believe people who interact with Birdcage are trying to create is be the intelligent, iconic achiever. And we were very intentional with these words. We chose achiever because it's a positive word, but if I could really be like tell you exactly what the meaning, I want it to be more on the like overcomer.
Like someone who overcomes obstacles.
Yeah, someone who overcomes obstacles. But I felt like that implies that you had to have struggles. And you don't always, I mean, everyone does. We all have struggles on a spectrum. But it's like the intelligent, iconic achiever, somebody who has overcome things, somebody who has learnt something from that, and somebody who is brave enough to be themselves, which therefore creates this iconic identity because they are unlike anybody else.
I love that.
Yeah. That's us. That's you. If you're listening, that's you. You are the intelligent, iconic achiever.
Do you think we've explained each part of the ladder of transformation enough? I have a good example.
Yeah, hit me.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example from one of my mentorship clients.
Yes.
I'm going to try to keep it as generic as possible because this is her work. But she's a mental health educator, mental wellness educator, specifically for around like middle-aged women. So we worked through this ladder of transformation. A lot of this really made sense to her with her psychology background. So she really liked this, which I loved. So what I like to do with my clients is I like to say, what's your audience's current functional pain point, emotional pain point, identity pain point? And then we also write, what's your audience's transformed after they work with you? So we write both. So I'm going to give you both. So for functional transformation, her audience is currently in an unhelpful headspace. That's how simple it is. And then the transformation, the functional transformation that she delivers is she changes neuroplasticity to embody the desired identity that they're chasing. So we're already getting to identity marketing a little bit because she is an educator, but basically she calls this like the midlife awakening.
Nice.
Then the emotional transformation. So currently her audience is sitting in fear, stress, overwhelm. They really don't like themselves because of how they feel. Body's going through changes, hormones, life's going through changes. And then the transformation that she offers is in the emotional part of the ladder is they feel calm, grounded, they find self-love again, and they find self-acceptance again. And we could just stop there, but then we want to look at the identity. So how do they perceive themselves before? And then how do they perceive themselves after? And so they're currently struggling in their relationships. They're struggling with coping with life. They're experiencing fatigue. and they just don't feel like themselves. So that it's like a lot of self-criticism and just like kind of putting themselves in a small box. And after they work with her, their desired transformation is they want to be embodying vitality and full of life and bubbly and fresh and just feel like this person who walks into the room and is just magnetic again.
Yeah.
So I think that's a beautiful example. Another example I was thinking of is for like product-based businesses. They probably really focus on the functional transformation. Yeah. In our strategies, we give an example for shoes, like running shoes.
Yeah.
And then they often forget like the emotional and identity. And then like coaches, educators are probably better at talking to the emotional identity, but kind of don't even say what's the actual functional thing that they solve.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And I think, again, that answers, as I said, I feel like online advice very much speaks in colloquialisms. And the other colloquialism that I hear a lot, pain point marketing, like you must do pain point marketing, right? Because you're solving problems. And then the question that I hear, or the comments that I see is like, but I'm a jewelry brand. How am I solving pain points? And it's like this ladder of transformation, this helps you identify exactly what that is. Because like for a jewelry brand, for example, let's think of someone who, I'm making this up, but someone who specializes with engagement rings. So the functional transformation is that they sell engagement rings. So you can go and propose to someone, get proposed to, whatever. The emotional one, what would you say the emotional?
It's literally like a symbol of your love, of your commitment, of a promise that you're making.
But what emotion does that create?
It creates...
Okay, we have to think. So this is how you have to break it down though, because there's actually two audiences for an engagement ring jeweler.
The buyer and the
recipient. So if we are clever, if you were maybe not as good at marketing as we are, you would argue, no, the buyer is the decision maker here. Let's say even in traditional sense, the man is the person buying the ring. We should market to the man. But if you have ever been a female who has been proposed to, you will very well know that we're talking traditional like marriages, like we're not even exploring same-sex couples and everything like that. Again, that needs to be considered as well if you are actively trying to bring that group of audience in as well. But it's like if we're looking at a heterosexual couple in a traditional sense where the man is proposing to the woman, which is probably still the majority of engagement ring buyers. I feel like I've chosen a little bit loaded example here, but most businesses would argue, I need to market to the man. He's the one coming in and buying the ring. It's not quite how it works, is it?
No, there's Pinterest these days.
There is Pinterest, there is wish lists, there is hint dropping, there are friends dropping hints, there's all of those sorts of functions, and the fact that people getting married these days are often entering into more of an equal, well, I hope it is, an equal partnership where the woman is quite frequently making a decision on the ring as well, because often it's shared finances. She's the one spending the money as well.
Yeah.
And so my advice is to market to the woman.
Well, my advice is to identify which one it is and not just make assumptions, but figure out. Yeah.
Yeah. If it was me and I owned a jewelry brand that is focusing on engagement rings, I would be marketing to the woman who's getting proposed to.
And you can even like shape your messaging around dropping hints or creating like little vision boards and making sure you leave it up so your husband, your future fiance can see it.
Yeah, we actually worked with a moissanite ring company at the beginning of the year. And there was a lot of, that's the advice we gave. It's like a lot of hinting and all of that. I mean, hinting, whatever it is. And this is why this ladder of transformation comes after we've already identified what our audiences are. Because when you get up to the ladder of transformation, you've already figured out who your audience is, what their audience schemas are. If you don't know what an audience schema is, then refer to that episode on audience schemas. But now we're at the ladder of transformation. So you're figuring out, okay, what is the transformation actually delivered? So let's just say we're marketing to the female who's going to be wearing the ring. She's not necessarily the buyer though. So the functional transformation is that she's getting a diamond ring to wear. The emotional transformation is not from the act of receiving the ring, but from choosing the jeweler from which to purchase it from. That's what we need to figure out. Well, again, it depends on the brand, doesn't it? As I said, we worked with a moissanite ring company, which is obviously the marketing messages we developed around that was that you are actually more clever to purchase moissanite because you're not buying into the potential ethical issues of purchasing diamonds, mined diamonds, but also it's like the quality of moissanite matches that of diamonds in a lot of ways. And so it's like, why would I spend $30,000 on a ring when I could spend $7,000? And so it's like, I'm smarter than that. So then the emotional transformation of choosing that moissanite ring jeweler would be one of, it's almost like satisfaction that you're almost like cheating the system, where it's kind of like, I don't know, is there another way to articulate that? It's the satisfaction. It's kind of like,
it's like the anti of buyer's remorse.
Yeah. It's buyer's delight.
Yeah.
Buyer's delight.
Feeling like you got a good deal.
Yeah.
Feeling like you have your dream ring because it looks good, but it's like you got a good deal and you got your dream ring. So it's like you got your cake and you got to eat it too.
Exactly.
And so then the identity is closely tied to that because now you are someone with a big blingy looking diamond, but you got a great deal on it. So you get to show up as the person you want who has a bit of bling and likes to show off a bit and like something that's like a statement piece of jewelry.
Absolutely. So isn't that funny? Like we tried to sidestep this whole, audience profiling and audience schemas and all of that stuff and go straight to giving an example of a random brand.
But we had to get deeper into the brand.
We couldn't do it. You can't skip these steps. I mean, we who do this every single day, we develop these frameworks, we teach these frameworks, we should know better, and yet we're still tempted to just give a quick example. And this is why if you're just tempted in your brand to do a quick piece of content without having done this is why it becomes difficult because you have all of these unanswered questions.
And because it becomes generic and people need specificity to feel like, oh, you're talking to me. You're not just talking to everybody.
Yeah.
And to stop the scroll and to want to comment and to want to click to the next thing, you need to connect with people and make them feel like, oh, wow, you're talking to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's speaking to the engagement results. I'm even just speaking to the whole, like, it would be so difficult. Like if I showed up and Caroline, if you said to me, hey, can you make a reel about promoting an engagement ring brand? I'd be like, okay. All of these questions would start spiraling. And that's what's happening to you when you don't know what to post. You may not realize exactly what the questions are because you don't know the questions to ask because we know that information and that's what we share.
And that's why you become paralyzed.
Yeah, because it's too many questions that you don't even know where to start.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah. Instead, that is what the strategy answers. This is why I'm getting to the point now where if people are like, oh, I can't be bothered to do a strategy, it takes me too long, I just want to shake them and be like, you have no idea.
You have to do the uncomfortable things first to get the results that you're looking for later. And it's like really a drop in the ocean compared to the vision you have for your business, which is hopefully like a lifetime vision. It's make a little investment in time or money. So if it's time, then that's doing the school or working with me in the mentorship. And if it's money, then that's
getting us to write
your strategy for you. And people pay really good money for that because it is so beneficial.
And did you know now our strategies include custom designed social media and email templates? I haven't told you that yet.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's special. That's brand new.
Wow.
Launching in July, which is probably when this episode is airing or maybe after. So by the time this episode is up, that's what you'll get. Do you know why we're doing that?
I mean, I can guess.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
The reason is because Maria, who writes a majority of our strategies, especially the big juicy ones, she noticed that her clients were then still not doing what they were supposed to do. And then when she hits them up, and she's like a dog with a bone, and when she hits them up, just like with your mentoring clients, when she then hit them up and was like, why aren't you doing it? The excuse was like, oh, I just needed to get this template. I didn't know how to get this email. Okay, we're going to fix that for you. We're just going to give you these designs. We're going to give you these Canva templates. Ready to go. No more excuses. Off you go.
I love that. I think that's why we've developed a few different services for after that initial strategy, because that was always the next question is like people become a little bit overwhelmed. They're like overwhelmed with emotion. Like Maria makes people cry happy tears when she presents their strategies because they feel so seen and excited about their brand again.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh crap, I actually got to do something with this now.
Yeah.
So they either like book coaching with me, they book our done for you services, and now they have templates to go off and do it themselves.
It's really funny because I feel like with all of our strategy stuff, it's like we try so hard to just give them a strategy and let them go, but they won't go, which is like, I guess it's kind of like the opposite of what, again, this speaks to what we've said in episodes previously about doing business our way, where a lot of advice I was always given in an agency is you need to retain clients as long as you can, do whatever you can to retain clients. When I actually went in with the opposite, which is like, I just want to give people what they need and let them go, that's when we actually retain clients longer than ever before because they never want to leave us because we're giving them so much rather than just trickling out little bits of value. It's like, bam, here's everything you need. And they're like, they're almost overwhelmed with just how generous we've been with what we've done for them that they're then like, please don't go. Anyway, back to the issue at hand, ladder of transformation.
So I guess now that people understand the functional, emotional, and identity transformations that they need to map out, what can they then go and do with these? Like, how do they start implementing them in their marketing?
All of these pieces, the audience schemas, the ladder of transformation, even the brand archetypes that we will be covering soon, it all becomes a piece of the content persona equation, which answers the question, what do I post? And so when you're doing Birdcage Marketing School, for example, we will literally say, add this component plus this component plus this component equals XYZ. And the XYZ is then what your topics and how you show up and whether you wear business suits in your videos or whether you wear trackies and a hoodie. It all gets revealed to you by doing these individual pieces and these individual steps. But basically, what I want you to think of with the ladder of transformation, the functional and the emotional transformation, that's your middle and your bottom of funnel. That should go into those stages of the funnel where you're building trust because you're showing, hey, this is, the transformation I've delivered for other people, or you're saying this is the transformation you're going to get. This is how you're going to feel. Imagine feeling, So if it's a bottom of funnel activity, it should be on your website, your landing page, for example. Imagine feeling clear and confident about your content. Imagine feeling excited about your engagement ring. Like, imagine feeling like you've satisfied that you've gotten everything you wanted by spending less. So that's how that then translates. Now, when it comes to the identity level, that should really flow throughout. That is literally instructions of how you should be showing up as a creator when you are making or when you're engaging with your customers or with your clients or on your content. So if we look at our transformed identity, which is the intelligent, iconic achiever, that is the energy I need to step into before I film content. And sometimes I'm not always in that energy and the results show. But when I am in that energy, when I'm demonstrating that that is what I've been able to achieve and that is who I've become as a result of what it is that I can do, that's when we convert people instantly.
That's who you show up as in your content where you're not even talking about Birdcage. That's how you show up on sales calls. That's how you show up in the school when you're delivering things. Like that's what Maddie's saying. It trickles through everything. It trickles through your messaging, how you show up in your content, your emails, just everything, how your team culture.
Team culture. It also is then, when you get into the action in Birdcage Marketing School where we show you how to make content, we talk about things like signaling. Signaling is just like using props, for example. So if I'm trying to prove to people that I am the intelligent, iconic achiever, what do you see on the wall behind me? My master's degree. What does that tell you? Intelligence. Well, it indicates it. It's a prop that indicates that, right? It's the same with for example, my car often makes a little feature every now and then because it shows that
you're iconic. You're not afraid to stand out.
Yeah, that's right.
Like you said, people give you some side eye sometimes for showing up in that car because you live in regional Queensland, but you're not afraid to be iconic.
And this is what I actually say about driving a G-Waggy around Mackay there are far more expensive cars on the road in Mackay, in a mining town like Mackay. Like these Land Cruiser Saharas getting around, probably these customs would cost a lot more than my car to purchase. But do you have the balls to drive a G-Wagon? No, I do. And that's right. It's like me being unapologetically myself. I love iconic cars, and that's why, like, that is so authentic to me to drive that. And then in terms of achieving, it's like, that's why I often like to film in my studio with my team in the background, with the studio space in the background, because it, again, status signaling, it signals that I've built up a successful business. And so again, like, this is the level of detail. You don't need to overthink things, but if you're someone like Caroline and I who actually do tend to overthink things, these frameworks reel that back in and actually give you a baseline to work against.
I like to think of it as like a filter. Like, you can sit in two buckets as like a content creator for your business. It's one that's like, I just don't know what to post. But most of the people that I work with, it's like, I have too many ideas. So it's like, this is a little filtration system to go, does this idea resonate with my audience? Yes. How do I then cater it to like make sure it's something that they actually care about? It's like, let's take it through all of these frameworks that we're talking about.
Yeah. Interesting. So we've attracted a whole bunch of me's.
And me's.
Yeah.
It's analysis paralysis because they have too many ideas.
Yeah. I'd love to get everyone's feedback on these audience schemas that we've spoken about in previous episodes, but also ladder of transformation. I know the feedback from the school is very positive, and I always get kind of a little nervous when we have psychologists join the school, because I'm like, obviously I'm not a certified psychologist, but I obviously have a lot of experience in...
Well, marketing is the study of people and behavior.
But also, I have done like consumer behavior subjects and all of that. But I get always really excited when psychologists, certified practicing psychologists, come into the school and they're just like, nailed it. You've explained it so perfectly, so simply, which, yes, makes me really happy.
That's the same with my mental health educating client. Like, she's like, oh, this is this. This is this. Oh, you just explain this, but like in this way. And like there was light bulbs going off for her and for me. And it's like, yeah, just so validating. That's why we work with very intelligent people.
Yes, that's true. But I also don't want to scare people away, because that's feedback we've had as well quite frequently through our monthly check-in. It's that people do sometimes get worried, oh my God, is this going to go over my head? I don't know anything about psychology, about marketing, about business, about anything, but it's literally so step by step that it's like anyone should be able to do it.
We make it very simple.
Yeah.
And that's why you have, if you're in the school, you have chess club, you have office hours. If you're, working with us or we're doing it for you, you have our brains on it.
Yeah.
So there's always people to help you with these things.
For sure. Awesome. All right. Thanks for another great app.
Thanks, Maddie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.